Hi y'all, and welcome back to the channel. So recently we have destroyed my entire valley, getting ready to start new for 2026. The first biome I wanted to do was the Glade of Trust, and this was because this was the one that I had the most inspiration for at the time. And the goal I wanted to achieve with this biome was making it spooky but whimsical, so it'll have tons of plants and just be a little bit eerie. I decided I wanted Scrooge's store down here, especially since we have the ability to reskin it now, so I went with the one from Storybook Vale. After making sure I have the placement correct, I start pulling out all of the different houses I'd like to have in this biome. There was a little bit of give and take. I go through a couple of different iterations, but mostly I pull out cottages and a couple of houses I normally would use in the Forgotten Lands I think are going to be perfect down here. I also pull out a lot of these oversized ones where it makes you feel like you're shrunken down, and that area by far is going to be the most colorful, whimsical vibe of it, but the rest of it is going to give more of that swamp spooky. I love putting houses down first because it helps me gauge the space and decide where I want extra decorations and how I want the paths to go. Speaking of paths, once we finish placing all of our houses, we'll go through and do the paving. Here I'm having to choose between the two different path options that I really liked. I was torn between the straw path and the mud path. You'll see that I ended up going with the straw path at first, but that all changes to the mud path because I decided I liked the way it looked better. Luckily, changing it over to the mud path was not hard because they added the ability to essentially fill or copy and paste if you had enough of a different path. This little corner when you enter into the Glade of Trust was looking very empty to me, so I decided this was the perfect space to use the new greenhouse item that we got with this previous Halloween star path. It still provides mobility, but it fills the space really nice. And then obviously the Glade of Trust needed lots of fireflies, so I'll go around and start adding tons of them. Then I start scrolling through the catalog and looking for all sorts of different pieces that I want to have that aren't necessarily just foliage pieces. This cottage area ends up being one of my favorite areas in this entire biome, and it all kind of sparked from this little orb pillar that we have to keep in the valley. Before I complete that area, I go through and add a couple of other pieces that catch my eye, but I'll end up going in and doing a ton more stones and making it really spooky and kind of like there's different runes and all sorts of things surrounding it. Now it's time to start going in with all of the different trees and bushes and foliage pieces that will really make this swamp come to life. And when I do these different pieces, I like to start by picking like one type of tree or one type of bush, and then go from there and kind of place it throughout the entirety. And I did cut a lot of it out because it can get really boring watching someone place 1,000 trees. Also, all of the footage y'all are seeing is a compilation of 2 different streams that we did to complete the Glade of Trust. So that's why you see me working on one half, and then in the second half of this video, you'll see me work on the second half of the glade. Another thing I find really helpful when decorating is to pull out of decorating mode and actually walk through it, because it always looks so much different when you're walking through it yourself. You can find empty spaces or spaces that are too cluttered, and it just gives a good feel for what it's actually going to be like when you're playing the game. So here we move to the second part of the glade. This is where Scrooge's shop is, and where it gets kind of spookier in a sense, because I definitely want it to have almost like an ominous running through, and then you see Scrooge's shop like a light at the end of the tunnel. And we'll do basically the same system as decorating the other half of the glade. My buildings are all placed, then I go through with all the paths, and then we go from extra decorating pieces and foliage pieces. I really struggle with Mother Gothel's little island, but I discovered it's a really great place to put down a well since it's pretty centralized in the biome. I also put down a crafting table for easy access. Other than that, I added a path that cuts through it, as well as a bunch of spooky trees and bushes, and it really filled the space nicely. It's time to start decorating by far the most whimsical area of this biome, and I take a lot of inspiration from Alice in Wonderland and fairies and use a lot of items I don't normally use otherwise, and these items make us feel really shrunk down and tiny, and I think it's a super fun contrast to the rest of the biome. Then we go back to a little bit spookier, where I add this little cauldron hidden in the forest with like a root arch and a lot of thorny bushes to keep it really spooky. And I have it sitting next to the Maleficent cottage, so it definitely fits the theme of the area when you walk through. With that, our Glade of Trust build is done. I'm really proud of the way this build turned out, and it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone and to use a lot of items I don't necessarily use that often. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to leave it a like and subscribe if you want some more Disney Dreamlight Valley content. I will be doing a video on every single biome that I decorate, but I am decorating all of these on stream, so if you have any advice or any ideas, I would love to hear them and I would love to have you stop by. See y'all on our next adventure.